$20 bill. Which one are you going to take? You're going to take this one. Why? Because you can validate and verify that $20 bill. So what's going to happen is, at the moment on internet, everything is like this. There is no validation to it. And as we create the authentication layer on internet, we're going to start choosing authenticated, validated information or data compared to non-validated, non-authenticated information. And that is going to change the way that we do things.
So step back a bit and talk about, before we get into authentication and so forth, talk about Web 3.0. I mean, is it going to look and feel radically different than what we have right now? If you go back to 1995, there were a lot of projections about what the web would look like. I would actually say it looks pretty much the way people expected it to. It's taken a long time for video to develop. It's taken a long time for the real direct video conferencing and things like that to develop. But overall, you know, it looks relatively the same as it did in 1995, although it's a lot faster. So as we go out 5 to 10 years, you know, we have a next wave of web development. Is it going to look a lot different? People can use it differently?
In 1995, no one said that, hey, we're going to have a Twitter and we're going to be tweeting about things. No one thought that we're going to be searching and crawling the internet the way that Google does. And no one thought that we could be going into social networks like Facebook. So these are the things that change our behavior. Yeah, internet itself hasn't changed apart from it has become faster in terms of connectivity. But what we do on internet has changed.
So what
Web3.
What do you think it'll look like? I mean, is Web3 Facebook? Is it Facebook on steroids? Is it something completely different?
There isn't going to be a big change overnight. It's going to be a gradual modification, a gradual change. And what I expect is that information that is being generated now, internet is all about information. Now we're getting so much information. We already are overwhelmed with the information. We're going to start separating good from bad, authenticated from non-authenticated. That, what I believe, is the next phase of development on internet, being able to identify what's good, what's bad in terms of information.
And so what is it? I mean, talk about this specifically, because one of the trends that's happening now, which is quite startling, is just the rate of Facebook's growth, for example, relative to Google. Google is still growing incredibly quickly, but Facebook is just unbelievably growing worldwide. So what does that mean in terms of authenticated, separating the wheat from the chaff, and so forth? I mean, what does that mean to change in the way people use the internet?
Well, first of all, what's going to happen is the way that we connect is going to start changing itself. We're going to start connecting to people that are authenticated. We're going to start hitting brick walls in terms of interacting with each other, you know, so that we're not going to be susceptible to crime, phishing, or other people frauding us like they are doing in Facebook. If you remember, you gave me a good example last time around regarding someone in Facebook pretending to be one's friend and, you know, extracted some money from them. So the more we connect, the more information we create, the more we're going to require authentication. And as we require authentication, we're going to build the tools to be able to differentiate what is authenticated, what is not. Authenticated is not just about information, it's about people. You know, when you're talking to me on Facebook, I will know it's Henry, it's not someone else. Those are the innovations that's going to come into Web 3.0.
And is that sort of thing that we are going to know is happening? Is it going to be obvious to us, or is it going to happen as something Facebook's going to take care of and we won't have to think about it and it's all at the technology level? Or is it something that every individual is going to have to download software or do something differently than they're doing now?
Sure, of both maybe. I have no idea as to how that is going to evolve. One thing I know that there is going to be an authentication layer for everything that we do. As to how that's going to be adopted, it's anyone's guess at this stage.
And what has to happen for that to happen? Because everyone is, as I said at the beginning, we're very eager for this next wave of innovation. And I really think that the whole Web 2.0 idea, which really took hold after the dot-com bust, 2001, 2002, 2003, was a huge wave of innovation, and it created companies like Facebook and MySpace and so forth. So I guess another way of looking at it is, are there other big companies that are going to be created based on a Web 3.0? Will we have another Facebook that nobody can even imagine now, or it's a small company nobody's ever heard of?
Most definitely. There are going to be new companies sprouting, offering new enablements. I believe the next thing is going to be the authentication. So you're going to have companies utilizing authentication as a platform to create large entities like Facebook was.
And so talk about what else. So, with 3.0, obviously there's authentication. We'll get into the technology for that, but let's talk.
We're gonna start understanding what information is. Today we do not understand. If I'm a computer, I do not understand what information is. When you're searching for, let's say, is someone married? Let's say if I want to know, let's say Jennifer Lopez. Is she married? I go to Google, I type, and I get 26 million results. All I want is a yes or no, right? So how do I get to a level?
Very pressing question with a lot of
it is actually. And so how do you get to a level whereby the services that is being offered to us understand what we're asking of them?
And so do you think we do get there? Because again, I've listened to people talk for 15 years now about the next generation of search, which is going to be natural language search. You'll be able to ask simple questions. Barry Diller's search engine tried to build its whole business based on that. It's people don't want to just type keywords. They want to ask questions and so forth. And it's just never really taken off, partially because you've got the technology problem. It's very hard to teach computers how to actually react to a plain English question. And I think partially because, in my opinion, you do get a lot of results, but keyword search actually works pretty well, usually.
It did. I mean, just like we thought Alta Vista worked well until 1998, we now think Google works quite well. Of course, Google is doing a lot of good innovation, but it's not about understanding your question. It's about understanding. If you just type Apple iPod, there is no point in my search result to show you Apple Granny Smith's apples, because Apple iPod in that context relates to the iPod device. So it is basic understanding that we're looking for, not a complex query. So the technology, I believe, is there today to be able to solve that. As to who's going to build that and who's going to make that available, it's Web 3.0. We'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see. So what do you think? Because in the New York Times this week, for example, there's a story of another search engine that is going to try to kill Google. It's the next Google, and we had one last year or 2 years ago called PowerSet. There's always a company coming along with that new next generation of search technology. Do you think it's going to be Google, or will it be somebody else? And if it's somebody else, is Google just going to buy them? Or is this a sort of thing that will do to Google what Google did to Yahoo originally?
Right. I think people going head-to-head with Google is not the answer. I think you have to go in a different way to take over that market. So for me, going after information search is not the way to do it. You have to go a different kind of search and build your base from then on. So people offering information-based searches are always going to have Google against them. Unless they are extremely better, the difference is not going to be any different. So you have to come up with a different kind of search that interests people. So what that is, it's going to be a question mark that hopefully we'll talk about in Web 3.0.
Good, I hope so. So, do you have any ideas? Because it's a fascinating question. Microsoft's working on this. Everybody's trying to work on it. What is a different kind of search?
I have certain ideas about